Hello everybody and welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday and you know what that means. It's time for Perpetual Motion, the class where we don't stop moving. Well, where you don't stop moving. Hi everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I know that the end of last week was a little more dramatic than we'd hoped for. And I want to thank everybody again for understanding why I didn't teach on Friday. And I hope that you were able to join on Saturday because we did have an awesome class. And you know, we're here in a new week, and you know, sometimes it's hard to figure out what to say. There's so much happening. There's so much to be angry about, and there's so much to be paying attention to and worried about. And you know, that's just in the world at large, you know. And then there's the fact that we all still have personal lives, and those personal lives can also include complexity and complication. And you know, there's a pandemic out there too. Let's not forget about that, although lots of people seem to be trying to. Hey everybody, if you're taking class with me, then I want to make sure that I have made my stance on masks perfectly clear. Wear a mask. Whenever you set foot out of your apartment or your house, wear a mask. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, it can feel a little overwhelming to figure out what to say or how to move forward or how we can move forward. So, you know, I talked on Saturday about the importance of finding the bare minimum of, like, out in the world, beyond class, the concept of, you know, what are the sort of foundational things that if I can achieve them, I can, regardless of whether I do anything else or check things off of to-do lists or anything like that, I can be proud of myself. In the same way that if you're new to class or you're just coming back, all we want you to do is the 3 components of the bare minimum, and that will be more than enough to give you an awesome class. You know, so I determined that the bare minimum for being a human right now is food, water, movement, and sleep. Movement, not exercise, because, you know, we've talked about the ways in which mental health can impact our ability to even get on our mats or get out the door. So, you know, movement can be as simple as, I've been sitting in this chair for a while, I need to stand up and walk into the kitchen and make myself some tea. Like, that's movement. Awesome. Okay? And I've been thinking about that a lot, and trying to balance the understanding that we're going through such intense times and we're all struggling, and we need to honor that, and we need to not, you know, be hard on ourselves when we're not magically achieving all of our goals, while we're, you know, trying to bail water out of the sinking boat. Trying to balance that with the fact that I do have lots of things that I'm doing or that I want to do, and I do have lots of goals that I want to achieve, and things that I'm excited about and that I want to have the mental headspace for. And it can be hard to make that balance. And I certainly don't want to, you know, be a positivity guru, because that can turn toxic really quickly, especially in times like this where there are very legitimate reasons for us all to be dealing with shit. Okay? But, you know, it's hard. It is hard. It is important to keep trying to look at it and keep trying to figure it out. Whether or not you succeed today or tomorrow or next week or what have you, you know, try and focus at the very least on the bare minimum. Feeding yourself, drinking water, getting some sleep, moving your body a little bit. And just start there. And whenever you feel able, see what you can do past there. So we're all dealing with this, and you know, it's important to talk about it and to help people feel comfortable to talk about it, because it can feel really isolating in a time that already feels really isolating because we're not really able to see many people. So I'm glad to be here. I'm also extremely glad that I have vacation coming up next week. So as a reminder, again, next week I am on vacation. My goal is to go live and just rebroadcast VODs from previous classes. That is my goal. So unless I tell you otherwise, I do still have to figure it out, which is why I'm not saying it unequivocally right now, but unless I tell you otherwise, assume that the stream will still go live at its usual times, with the usual class structures, but it will not be a live class. It will be a replay of a VOD from one of our previous classes. So that everybody can still get their exercise in, but I can get an actual full-on rest week, which is definitely something that I need and something that I'm very much looking forward to, because I have all of this stuff that I want to do, particularly for this channel and for all of my fitness work, and I am really looking forward to having an entire week where I can relax and work on things at my own pace, in my own time, and sort of get some stuff to the next level. So, woohoo. But all of that being said, we're live now, and it is time for Perpetual Motion. So if this is your first time in Perpetual Motion class, it's named that because once we begin the warm-up, we will not stop moving for the rest of class. And how we achieve that is usually we would finish a sequence of exercises, and the ending horn will blow on the timer, and you go, okay, cool, now I can, you know, sit and drink water and be chill. For this class, when that timer goes off, you go into an active rest exercise, which for this class is cross checks or some of its various modifications. And I'll demonstrate that when we get to the first time when it will become relevant. But yeah, so make sure that your water is at standing level, since your active rest exercise is a standing exercise, but you do also still want to be able to drink water. So make sure that your water is up at a height where you can get it without having to stop movement, bend over to grab something off the floor, all of that stuff, okay? Pre-class checklist. Hey. Maybe when I come back from vacation, I'll stop doing that, since I do have it on the intro card for class. But water, yeah, water. We love water. Comfy clothes for exercising, whatever that means to you. A mat setup or a mat-sized space. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time to turn it on. If you don't, no worries, okay? This is not a requirement, just some people use them, myself included. So if you do use them, now's the time to turn them on. All right, let's get going, my friends. So we are going to start where we always start. Every time I say that, I want to make like a Pinky and the Brain reference, and I didn't watch that show quite religiously enough to have the exact wording of the catchphrase in my head, so I feel like I never achieve my goal there. All right, so starting with our warm-up, Everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. And as soon as you hear that first horn, we will begin our warm-up with hip rocks and bridges, okay? Hey, so there we go. Oh, man. I'm going to be gentle with myself today because my shoulder has been flaring really badly for the last few hours, and it usually does on Tuesdays for whatever reason. It's just decided that on Tuesdays we flare up and cause a lot of chronic pain. So fun times. But yeah, so we are, regardless of whether or not you too are dealing with chronic injury pain, we are warming up, and so we are not here trying to go for 100% energy, speed, power, anything like that. So we are here to just kickstart all of the components of our brain. So don't feel the need to, be given full energy to any of this. We will, the amount of energy that you need to give will naturally increase over the course of the warm-up and over the different exercises that we do, but we are not going for, full intensity at any point during this, even when we get to the cardio exercises, because one, again, warm-up, we're trying to turn on all of the systems that will help us get through class, and two, it's a perpetual motion class, and since that means that we are going to be moving the whole time, you don't want to use up all of your energy here in the warm-up and then struggle to get through the remaining 45 minutes of class. All right, we are back. Starting our leg sequence. I was a little weirdly positioned on my mat, so 3 exercises before we switch to the other side. Starting with our Jane Fonda, our leg lift, making sure that our body is in a nice straight line, okay? If that's not something that you can feel easily, if you don't have great spatial awareness yet for where your body is in space, then use the edge of your mat, the flat edge of your mat. Just line yourself up along that and start to get a sense of, okay, this is what it feels like when I am correctly positioned. And if you want, you can then, actively put yourself in a slightly incorrect position and feel the difference, okay? Top foot in front of the bottom knee, lifting that bottom leg. But yeah, having that, that comparison can be really helpful when you don't necessarily have either the years of training or the innate spatial understanding. It can be really helpful to set yourself up in the line that you know is correct, so using that flat edge of your mat, and then set yourself up in a position that you know is incorrect, and just try and feel the difference between those two. And that will help you start training yourself and start training your spatial awareness. It's a super useful skill, and it can be trained, at the very least when it comes to exercise, to movement, to where our limbs are in space and how we get them there. All right, top foot behind the bottom knee, still lifting the bottom leg. It's absolutely a skill that can be trained, and it's incredibly useful. So definitely pay attention to that. And the warm-up is a nice low-key time for us to practice this skill, right? We're not really putting a ton of forces on our limbs at this point. We get a little bit more intense about form later in the warm-up sequence, but right now we are in an exercise series where there aren't going to be huge ramifications for doing those types of tests and being like, okay, this is correct positioning, this is incorrect positioning. Now I have a tactile memory of what the difference is. All right, switching around to our other side, getting ourselves right back in, starting with Jane. Same 3 exercises, just on the other side. But it's a really, really important skill. And, you know, it's something that if you've been an athlete of any kind, you probably have that training rattling around in your head. So if you're just coming back to exercise, it's probably a skill that you either still have or will pick back up really easily. Those of us who have trained as dancers or martial artists have a particularly good eye for spatial positioning, but anyone in any sort of sport or team sport or anything like that will have that understanding as well. And it's incredibly helpful, just because it lessens the barriers between you and a new exercise, basically. So if you have an understanding of, say, what it feels like when you are standing with your feet hip-width apart, such an innate understanding of that you can get into that position without having to like look down and shuffle around or think about it when somebody says, you know, stand with your feet hip-width apart. Then if I introduce you to a new exercise and the first step is getting into that standing position with your feet hip-width apart, then you don't have to expend any mental energy to do that. And so it will be easier for you to pick up new exercises without as much feedback on form, because you will have that base, that repository of physical information about this is how it feels, you know, when I am in this position, when my arm is here, when my leg is here, when my core is engaging. And now that I have that and it's committed to muscle memory, I don't have to put as much mental energy into it. So it is a very, very important skill. And the more that you can do to train yourself in it, the better. And start right here in these warm-ups, my friends. Great place to start. All right. We are now going into our back and hips portion of the warm-up, starting with our scorpion twists. Make sure that your forearms, your elbows are planted firmly on the ground and they are not lifting up for any reason, okay? So if you feel your elbow start to lift off the ground, that means you're trying to twist farther than you have the back flexibility for, okay? So always pay attention to that. It provides a really helpful yardstick for measuring where your back flexibility is currently. And it's really helpful for helping you identify, oh, I think I was able to go farther into this stretch than I usually am. That's exciting. All right. Hiya. Up we go. And big torso rotations. We're holding, in case you're confused as to why I just put my arms randomly over my head, we're holding an imaginary PVC pipe in our hands. When I was teaching in person at the Boulder Rock Club, which is where I learned this particular warm-up sequence, we would do this exercise and the next exercise holding a small length of PVC pipe above our heads. So obviously many, if not most of us, don't just have PVC pipe lying around in our house. So, but you can still have your arms in the correct position for that. So we make do, and that's, you know, one of the big and awesome learning points of these streams is, you know, we can do this even when we have no specialized equipment at all, okay? If I had nothing but a floor, I could still do this entire class. It would be more uncomfortable. I'd want to figure out a way to pad it slightly, but you really can do, you can get such an incredible workout without having to own a bunch of hyper-specialized exercise equipment. And I think that is such an important thing to remind people of, because it can feel really daunting to try and figure out how to work out in our homes if we don't feel like we have, you know, even in the before pandemic times, if we don't feel like we have the right equipment or the amount of the money that we would need to have a gym membership or try out a class or all of those things, you know, there are a lot of barriers that can stand between, you know, me, average person, and exercising. And so the more that we can learn about ways that you really can exercise anywhere with absolutely nothing except for the ability to move around, you know, it's an important skill, and it's particularly important right now, as many of us have been ripped from, or back in March, were ripped from a lot of our normal routines, you know. At this point, we're 6 months in to this, and so hopefully you've been able to create a new normal, a new routine for yourself, which is so hard to do, and particularly in those first few months where we were all still, I think, assuming that all of this would get cleared up a lot more quickly than it has, you know, so it didn't necessarily feel like a worthwhile use of time to really settle into new habits and new routines when we were all still operating under the assumption that everything would be, you know, right as rain in a couple of weeks. Well, obviously, if we're 6 months in, that means that for now, this is our normal. And, you know, hopefully you have been able to find and create new routines and new sort of stabilizing, whoa, I don't know what just fell over there, but sorry. At least it wasn't, you know, the entire bookcase. That's good. I was in the middle of a speech. Jeez, bookcase. Anyway, yeah, it's been hard. I definitely have found myself to be much more grounded since I have, you know, accepted the new normal and tried to build new routines around that. That has absolutely made me feel better, feel more stable, and I hope that you've been able to do that as well. But it takes time. It takes time. It is not an easy thing to do. So if you're still struggling with that, if you're still feeling really off kilter, because of, you know, gestures vaguely at everything, that is totally fine and completely understandable. And don't beat yourself up about it, okay? Really don't, because we are all going through so much, and it is entirely understandable that it's a struggle to get through. All right, we have made it to our final exercise, burpees. So remembering that this is perpetual motion class, when the horn goes off at the end of this, you do not stop moving. You instead hop up on your mat and start immediately going into cross jacks, okay? So I will demonstrate that as soon as we get there, but I want you to start mentally preparing for that and not expecting that you get to just stop and chill, all right? So everybody prep. All right. So here we are. So cross jacks are really simple because they're essentially similar to jumping jacks. I'm jumping my feet out. When I jump them in, as the name implies, I'll cross one foot in front of the other, then jump out and alternate. Same thing with my arms, okay? A couple of modifications, depending on your preference. You can do the arms and just sort of jump from foot to foot and kick them forward, or you can also just sort of jump from side to side like this. I'm fine with any of these modifications as long as you don't stop moving, all right? That's the goal, that's the intent, that is the most important thing. It's exactly as I was saying, stability, great, thank you, whatever that was. Oh God, I think it's game pieces from Gloomhaven. The ghost of Gloomhaven rising up, wondering why I haven't played in so long. Look, friend, there's a plague on. It's hard to have the energy for board games. All right. So everybody's still doing their cross jacks, active rest. Make sure you're still drinking water though, okay? So just like if you were running a half marathon, you would still want to be drinking water throughout, even though you're not stopping to drink the water and then continuing to move. So it can be a little more awkward. You know, you have to get used to being able to drink while breathing and also bouncing because you're moving. But please, please, please do not use this as an excuse to not finish off your water bottle. All right, we're gonna do a bunch of AMRAPs today. Because what better way to spend a perpetual motion class, huh? So, AMRAPs, if you've done CrossFit, you've heard the term as many reps as possible. I don't use it in the CrossFit sense other than, yes, you want to do as many reps as possible. But what it means in this class is I turn on a 5-minute timer and you spend the entire 5 minutes cycling through a set of 3 exercises that I will show you in just a second, but you get to decide when you switch from exercise to exercise. So this is not a Tabata or perpetual motion timer. It is entirely directed by you, okay? So our exercises for this are going to be first side-to-side planks. So we start out in this front plank position, shoulders directly over your wrists. Let your heels drop down to one side. Come up onto one arm. Bring the other arm up towards the ceiling. Hold there for a second. Let the judges see it. Then back through the center and to the other side. And we just go back and forth and back and forth. Okay? Second exercise is going to be kneel to squats, which I haven't done in a while. So the most important thing about this exercise is that you keep your head the same distance from the ground at all times, and you'll see why I say that in a second. So I'm going to start on my knees, flat back, and this is the distance from the ground. I want to keep my head the whole time. I'm going to first bring one foot up, so I'm flat on the foot. Then push forward, bring up the other foot, so now I'm in this deep squat position. Bring that first leg back down to my knees, and other leg. And then I'll just keep going, alternating my starting leg each time, okay? Then our third exercise is going to be a held front superhero. So we lie flat on our stomachs, arms and legs extended outwards, and you just lift your arms and legs and chest off the ground and hold. If you want to introduce a little movement, bend your arms at the elbows, extend them behind you, bend your arms at the elbows, extend them in front of you. So if you want to add that in, that's fine, but it doesn't change anything else. You are still holding, okay? So our three exercises, again, side to side planks, kneel to squat, and held front superhero. So let's get the timer going. So cross check, back onto your mat, and as soon as you hear the horn go, you can get right down onto the mat and begin your side-to-side planks. Sorry, my puzzle pieces they definitely don't like to stay together anymore, which is a bummer. I'm sure they're not used to necessarily this much focused, rigorous attention. But so obviously you already know this because it's a perpetual motion class. But the most important thing in this timer is that you do not stop moving the whole time. So you are always either doing an exercise or starting the next exercise by minimizing the amount of time it takes you to get into position and begin, all right? So we don't want to use the transition as an opportunity to kind of sneak in a little break. Your goal for this is getting into position as quickly as possible. And, you know, for those of you who are new, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but we talk about the bare minimum, okay? So if you're new to class or you're just starting back after an absence, all you need to focus on is the bare minimum. Starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly. For a perpetual motion class, that becomes a little bit weirder because you're not starting from a rest position. You know, when you're doing a Tabata, you're not going directly from one exercise to the next. The horn goes off, and you're like, okay, cool. Now I'm resting. Okay, there was the knock, knock, knock. Now it's time for me to get ready for the next exercise. And horn goes off, and I'm on my way. With a perpetual motion timer like this one, or a perpetual motion class, again, like this one, what you need to do is be focusing on minimizing the amount of time it takes you to get from one place to the next. All right, that was our halfway horn. Woo! So with some exercises, that's going to be super easy because you don't really have to go very far. Or the previous exercise sort of positions you perfectly to just drop into place and begin. Other times, you'll have to shift planes entirely. You know, go from standing to lying on the ground or vice versa. And you still need to figure out how to minimize as much as possible the amount of time it takes you to do that, okay? That comes with practice, both over the course of the timer and just the more you take class. With a healthy dose of that spatial awareness thing that we talked about earlier, understanding this time in terms of understanding how to most efficiently move yourself through space to begin the next exercise, which requires a knowledge both of where you are in space for your current exercise, where you want to be for the next exercise, and then from there you figure out how to get there. So you know, it's a little simpler and also a little more complicated. No puzzle piece. There you go. But yeah, you know, we're not having the same ease of transition where, you know, if I'm starting from a stopped position and I know, okay, I have 5 seconds left, I'll get into my starting position, just sort of hold here and then get going. You don't have that here. You don't know that you need to move to the next exercise until you hear that horn. And then you just have to make it as fast and as efficient as possible to get from one place to the other. We'll see this in a second when the end timer goes off and we all stand right back up and begin doing our cross jacks, okay? Whatever version you want to do, okay? But make sure that you get there nice and quickly. Hi everybody. All right, let's drink some water. Don't forget to drink water just because you're still moving. Oh yeah. It's interesting. I feel like a lot of times we're not taught to have particularly close relationships with our bodies. You know, and some of that comes from a lot of like puritanical underpinnings of the country that, you know, sort of like bodies and bodily functions are not, maybe they're not inherently bad, but they're, you know, we just don't like to talk about them, you know, they're just kind of distasteful to deal with. And, you know, because of that, a lot of us don't actually have the ability to have those conversations with our body, listen to what it's telling us, what signals it's sending us. And I would love it if this class was an opportunity for you to get to know your body a little bit better and get to know how it feels when it's, you know, super full of energy and really ready to rock. Get to know how it feels when it's screaming at you that, hey, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to injure yourself. Get to know how it feels when it's totally run down and, you know, okay, we can exercise, but I really need you to like take it easier today, you know? All of those things are things that your body will tell you. But frequently, too frequently, we're sort of conditioned to not pay attention to them or to feel like we're supposed to muscle through them. So no muscling through bad sensation here. If you're feeling like you're about to injure yourself, stop doing what you're doing. Hey, crazy. All right, second set of exercises for our next AMRAP timer. We're gonna do first, just a held bridge position. And you've got 2 options for this. One, we're just on our backs, feet flat on the floor like this, and we're just going to press our hips up and hold in this bridge position. Hey, little spider, can you run in the opposite direction? Shoot, shoot. No, you're just gonna chill there? All right, that's fine. If you want to, you can go the more intense route of planting your hands and feet and doing a full bridge like this. Just know that you have to hold that position for however long you're staying there, okay? So that's a held position. Second exercise is going to be chaturanga to downward dog, with my standard caveat that I am not a yoga teacher, and so this is my interpretation of something I've done in yoga classes occasionally and not, you know, the actual move itself. So starting from front plank position, man, the lighting is fun right now. And we're going to lower ourselves down as if we're doing a push-up. When you're about an inch off the floor, leave your hips down there, but extend your arms. Look up towards the ceiling. Then push back against your hands into this downward dog. Back to that plank. Down, up, and push. And go back and forth between those two. And third is going to be side-to-side mat jumps, which hopefully I won't knock any more things off of my bookshelf. So starting with one side of your mat, standing on the same leg. So if I'm on the left side of my mat, I'm standing on my left leg. And then we're just going to jump from side to side, pushing off entirely of that front leg, okay? So I'm not putting any weight on the leg that's going behind. I'm not using it really to push myself. I'm generating that force for the jump from this leg that's in front, okay? So those are our three exercises. We've got the held bridge, we've got chaturanga to downward dog, and we've got side-to-side mat jumps. So again, 5-minute timer. There'll be a horn midway through, just to let you know that you're midway through. And we have begun. So the wonderful thing about the AMRAP timers in this class is that it gives you a degree of control that you don't get during other portions of class. You know, usually I am, at the very least, telling you exactly what exercise to do and exactly how long to do it for. In some super extreme cases, I even give you the rhythm that you need to perform the exercise on. This goes in the opposite direction, where I've given you a block of time, basically, and I've given you the exercises, yes, but apart from that, you are totally in control of when you switch between each exercise, how many reps you do of each exercise, and it can be really nice to feel that control and that power over the process. It does come with some great responsibilities, as all powers must. So you do have to do all three exercises. This is not an excuse for you to just totally skip an exercise or say, oh, I really love this one and I'm good at it. I'm just going to do this exercise for the whole 5 minutes, okay? It's not an excuse to do that. You do have to do them all, and you do have to, as we talked about, keep moving the whole time. But you get to control how quickly you move from exercise to exercise. So yeah, maybe you have to do them all, but sorry, I'm just gonna close the blind slightly. But you know, if you want to only do 5 reps of something and then move to the next exercise, you can do that, okay? My usual recommendations for when to switch back and forth between exercises, if you're getting bored, switch exercises. That's why we've got 3, to give ourselves a little bit of variation, keep the brain engaged in the process. Hey, we're halfway through. Second reason could be because, again, you're not crazy about an exercise, you want to move on to the next one. In those instances, I do challenge you to do at least 10 reps. And I also further challenge you, if you've been doing this class with me for a while to just try to add, you know, 1 or 2 additional reps on each time, just to keep working. You know, obviously all of these exercises are here for a reason. They all have value, and we want to honor that. We want to make sure that we are working all of the areas that are getting addressed by these different exercises. The third reason would be if you have been doing the same exercise for long enough, or you're, you know, enough cycles through that you feel fatigued enough that you think you're going to lose the form, okay? If you are doing this chaturanga and you're like, I'm not sure if I can do this lower down without my elbows starting to splay out and losing that nice plank position, then it's time to move to the next exercise, okay? Because form, as you're no doubt aware if you've been with me for a while, is one of the most important things that actually, I probably put it at the top of the list. Start with form. Start with just drilling into the form of each exercise, making sure that you can do the exercise correctly, even when you're not devoting your entire attention to it. And it is far more valuable to me and to you for you to do just 2 reps of an exercise and do them perfectly than to give me 20 or 30 reps, but make it do them incorrectly, so that you're just drilling bad form into yourself. Hey, did everybody start doing those cross jacks as soon as that horn went off? I sure hope so. All right. So yeah, always default to good form, okay? And if you feel like you were about to lose that form, then switch exercises, all right? Important. Hey, it's water time. Yeah, I can tell that the seasons are changing because the sun, I'm not used to the sun being that, like, positioned low enough that it's not hitting my face when I sit here, but high enough that it's now hitting my face when I'm actually on the mat doing exercises. So keep your fingers crossed that by the end of my rest week, I have actually ordered some much needed pieces of equipment for these streams. All right, my dears. Bagel time, bagel time. I don't know that reference. Oh no. Keep cross-checking. You can tell me later. All right. So our next series of AMRAPs is going to be as follows. We are going to do first turtle jumps. So if you know me, you know that anything with turtle in it starts rolling up onto the shoulders, then up onto the feet like that. If you can't get up onto your feet with momentum alone, maybe you don't have the flexibility of the Achilles, you can use a hand to help push you up. And then once you're on your feet, just jump, down, jump, and down, okay? So, super easy, woohoo. Then, second exercise is going to be kick through. So we do kick throughs in the warm-up, so you know the process of a kick through. However, each time that you start to switch towards the second side, so if I start here, I've kicked 1 foot across, instead of going all the way to the other side, I'm going to stop in the center, do a wave push-up, then other side, okay? So we're just adding a wave push-up in the center of each kick through, basically. And then third exercise is going to be, ooh, shrimps, yes, 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 yes. Getting excited like I didn't design the class. But, you know, it's good to surprise yourself. All right, so shrimps, moving up and down the mat by first moving shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips. And then once you hit the end of the mat, you just start going back the way you came. So you're just going back and forth along the mat, sort of shrimping yourself along, for lack of a better term. All right. Everybody cross-track back onto your mats and get ready. So turtle jumps, then kick-throughs with the wave push-up, and then our last but not least shrimps. Hey, there you go. I'm gonna be very awkward with my turtle jumps because they don't go well for me when I also have to do shrimps in terms of how I have the mat set up. So if I look a little weird and awkward right now, it's because I am trying very hard to A, not roll my back along the floor, which is very painful, and B, not hit my head against that bookcase back there, which would also be very painful. But it does mean that I have plenty of room to do those kick-throughs. So when you're doing anything that requires being up on your hands like this, in this position, with your hand sort of flexed like that, if you are on a super flexible surface, sometimes that can cause wrist issues, because as soon as you put any weight on this, the flexible surface is going to depress under your hand, and you're going to end up hyperflexing your wrists, which can cause, it can hit up against the nerves coming through, can cause twinging, it can cause numbness, lots of weird, uncomfortable stuff. So you'll frequently see me push my mats away when it's time for one of these types of exercises, so that I can have my hands totally flat and not having the heel of my palm sort of sink down into the mat, okay? So if you struggle with wrist issues, that is definitely an important thing to keep in mind, okay? So always pay attention. And if you do have chronic injuries, it is important for you to know what modifications you need to make to different exercises. And I do try to give modifications when I can. I don't always remember. And I am planning a video series where we talk about different ways that you can modify different exercises for various chronic issues. But if you are an active person who does have some sort of chronic injury condition or issue that they need to be able to deal with, then it is really important that you start to develop your library of what modifications can I make to each exercise, so that I can either do the exercise, but do it safely, or do a similar exercise that works the same muscle groups, but is easier on, wrists, shoulders, knees, etc., etc. It's really important for you to know that. And again, it sort of ties into developing a better relationship with our bodies, okay? And understanding our body's needs and going, okay, I struggle with plantar fasciitis. Maybe I can't work out barefoot anymore. Maybe I have to wear sneakers to get that extra arch support, or something like I have wrist issues, so I want to make sure that the surface that I am using for something like kick-throughs or push-ups or planks is not so flexible that it's going to exacerbate those issues, okay? So the more you learn about your body and its needs, the better time you will have exercising, basically, is what it comes down to. So start building up those skills as much as you can, and you will really be impressed by the results when you start to see how it all starts to tie together, and how you're able to be stronger and more powerful overall because you know how to support your body. All right, back up on your feet, doing those cross jacks. Get back here, timer. Oh, very good. Very, very good, my friends. Yeah. How are we doing? Oh, we're doing great. All right. Man. This is a good class. This is a good class. It's been a weird few days, you know, and I know I was struggling with mental health stuff even before, you know, the world stuff of Friday. So it's nice to be in class, to feel like I've been able to pull out of some of that a little more effectively, you know, but also still being kind to myself and reminding myself that it's okay to go a little slowly, to not push myself to 100% or 110% today. And that is okay, because rest is okay. Rest is better than okay. Rest is really important. Oh man, I apologize if you can hear the bass rumbling through the walls of this apartment. All right. Friends, let's do one more AMRAP. It's a lot of AMRAPs today. Hey, so 3 exercises as per usual. First one is going to be turtle burpees. So last time we just did the jump. This time we are going to come up onto our feet, plant our hands, jump back into this plank, do a wave push-up, jump our feet forward, jump up, and repeat. All right, so it's very similar to a burpee, but inverting just enough pieces of it that you do have to pay a little more attention, okay? Then we are going to do front plank from the elbows. So coming down onto our elbows, we want our shoulders directly over our elbows. So again, we're creating that nice, stable position, and then we're just chilling in this front plank as long as you want to. And then, hang on, I think the sun is now down far enough that we can, oh yeah, look at that. You can see me again, yay. Third exercise, goblet lunges. So we're going from standing position, feet together, and we are going to step forward into a double lunge, but you need to be careful of the positioning. You don't want your knee to go super far forward so it's in front of your toes. You want it to be as close to perpendicular to the ground as you can. And then step back and other side. So frequently, what this will mean is you have to step forward a lot farther than you might think you do, okay? So that you can get your knee into that nice safe position. All right, so those are our 3 exercises: turtle burpees, front plank from the elbows, and goblet lunges. So let's get back on our mats. Get ready. Cross-jacking away. We're cross-checking before we, and now into the turtle burpee. Hiya! So you guys are champs at this point at moving back and forth between different exercises and out of your cross jacks and into the next exercise. These are important skills. And you know, the more you do them in class today, the easier it will be in class next week. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, here we go. We are getting close to the end of class, my friends. There's going to be one more thing to do when we come around to the end of this timer. So we are not yet at the final end of the timer, but we're getting close. We are getting close. Hey, here's something I haven't really talked about yet today, but we've had a lot of held positions, so hopefully you've remembered me talking about this in previous classes. The importance of continuing to breathe when you're doing a held position. So like that front plank there, when we get into held positions, we have a tendency to hold our breath along with everything else. And it's understandable because, you know, we're engaging our muscles to try and hold a specific position, and any little movement can throw us out of balance, out of whack. And, you know, breathing obviously requires movement, but exercise requires oxygen to go to all of your muscles to help break down fuel sources and to keep the energy systems running that allow you to actually do this work. So you really do have to make sure that you are breathing, that you need to learn how to hold a position stably, sturdily, while still breathing the whole time. Woo, man, my mat setup is not ideal. Shocking, I know, for all that I complain about it. All right, we are halfway through, my friends, which is awesome. I'm going to take it easy on the turtle burpees for myself, and probably just do turtle jumps personally, because I'm definitely feeling it in my shoulder. And again, important to listen to what your body is telling you. My body is definitely telling me that it's probably a good idea to lay off the super shoulder intensive exercises right now and just focus in on what I can do. Oh yeah. So I always want to be honest and clear with you all, and to really demonstrate what that looks like and what that feels like. You know, I have never ascribed to the you know, gotta fight through the pain, no gain bullshit, pardon my language, because there are different types of pain. There is the pain of sore muscles, which is awesome, which feels really good. You're like, oh man, I did a great workout and I can really feel that. Then there's the pain of injury or getting close to injury. And that has a different quality. It has a quality that is supposed to make you stop doing whatever it is you're doing, okay? And it is really, really important for you to be able to recognize the difference between different types of pain and to understand what it feels like when your body is desperately trying to warn you about impending injury, okay? So don't ever feel like you need to keep muscling through. If something is causing you pain, figure out how to modify, figure out a different exercise, or just go, you know what, I think I need to step away for tonight because I'm afraid I need to let my body rest. And that's totally fine, okay? Totally fine. You're all cross-jacking again, FYI. So just keep that in mind. I know I emphasize it a lot. It's because we are all very bad at listening to those signals and actually heeding them. And let me tell you, nothing gets in the way of your exercise more than injuring yourself. So be kind, be present, be mindful. If you're feeling a lot of pain and not, enjoyable sore muscle pain, then take a rest, okay? Make sure you're drinking water. And now we had our necessary reference to the glory days of Blockbuster. Rest in peace, Blockbuster. Lord. There you go, friends. Who here remembers Blockbuster? She said, walking her cane across the floor. Nah, it wasn't that long ago. All right, my friends, we're gonna do one more thing. 5 minutes, toe squats, no stopping, okay? We're still doing perpetual motion class. So, you wanna set yourself up, feet hip width apart, back, straight up and down. We're squatting all the way down to the floor, letting the heels come up when they need to, and then standing up and letting the heels come down naturally. So in both directions, we are not actively moving the heels. We're just letting them raise up and come down as makes sense given where you are in the exercise. But I challenge you to do the entire 5 minutes without stopping, okay? Usually when we do toe squats, we get to take little breaks and all that stuff. 5 minutes, I challenge you to keep going the whole time. All right, cross-jack your way onto your mats. Get ready. Still cross-jacking, but prepared to start as soon as you hear that horn, all right? So make sure that you've got your feet nicely positioned, that hip width distance apart. Again, one of those positions that it's incredibly useful to understand without having to look down and shuffle your feet around and all that stuff. And when we're doing toe squats, you want to make sure that your core is engaged because you don't want the weight of your torso going in a bunch of directions that you don't expect it to, and thus throwing you off on the exercise. Because when you come down to the bottom of this position, you are balancing on the balls of your foot, not even the full amount of your foot, just the balls of your feet. And so if you're not controlling the weight up here, then we start wobbling around. Maybe we fall over. Maybe we fall over and hurt ourselves. So having your core engaged, start there. And that way, that brings all of the weight of the torso in line. So you don't have to worry about the ankles having to be responsible for any of that weight because the core's engaged. The core's got it. So the ankle and the ball of the feet can work on the balance of just one sort of solid mass rather than a bunch of different limbs all moving in different directions, okay? It's important. It makes it a lot easier, I promise. Oh, man. I do love toe squats. Let me tell you, this is one of my favorite exercises, and I think you all know that. And I don't even know why particularly. It took me a long time to really get into them. If you are new to toe squats, then you may experience some pretty major cramping in your arches after a while, know that that is normal. So talking about different types of pain, that's not an unexpected pain, okay? That's something that you would absolutely expect. It took ages for me before I could get through, you know, a 10-minute set of toe squats or a 5-minute set of toe squats without that cramping in my arches. And once we're done, we will do a little bit of stretching of those feet and a couple of stretches just to cool down, wind down at the end of class. But yeah, it took me a while to really get into it, and I don't know why I like them so much, except that, you know, they focus their work on the quads, and the quads are powerhouses for so many other activities. If you're working your quads, strengthening them, you're going to be able to do so many things so well. You know, obviously I live in Colorado, as I've said many times, and you know, hiking is a big thing here. And I always felt really awkward and not particularly good at hiking because, you know, we're at really high altitudes and I didn't have the same cardiovascular support that people who'd been here for a while had, and I had to stop a lot and, you know, just rest, and like, oh my goodness. After really doing toe squats several times a week, like extensive series of them several times a week, I just noticed such a difference in my hiking abilities, and it was just so exciting to feel that strength and to feel a practical application of it as I moved through the world and as I did other activities. When I go out on my bike now, I feel so much stronger on there, and I definitely put a lot of that to this weird little exercise here. So hooray for toe squats, and hooray because you just finished class. Oh my goodness. All right, my friends, let's get down on our mats, do a little bit of stretching, because we just worked our quads nicely with a 5 minutes of toe squats. So we deserve a little bit of stretching there. So y'all know my favorite quad stretch. For the leg that is working, you want to fold it entirely. The heel is on the outside of the hip, but you want to pull it in close so that it is up against the hip. And my other leg is just sort of, the knee's fallen open. This foot is just over here by this knee. Main thing as I get into position for the stretch, don't let this knee on the working leg come up off the ground. So similar to when we're doing scorpion twists. If you can't go any further without the knee coming up, then you have reached where you are in the stretch. And then we're just going to let ourselves back and bring our torsos down towards the floor only as far as we need to get a nice intense stretch along the quad. So for some of us, just coming back onto our hands will initiate that stretch, and that's awesome. Just stay there. Some of us can make it all the way down to the elbows before the sensation gets super intense, and some of us come all the way down to the floor, okay? Wherever you are, take a second to settle in. All right, you don't want to move quickly into a static stretch position. You want to move into it slowly so that you don't accidentally trigger your brain to activate the muscle, because what we're doing in these stretches is we're trying to lengthen the muscles, but when our muscles get activated for exercise, their natural impulse is to contract, always. And so if we try to push ourselves too quickly into the stretch, then the brain might go, oh, we're trying to use this muscle. Let me send a signal. And the muscle will go, oh, I need to be in use. Let me contract. And that can cause issues with stretching. It can lead to injury. So just try and move into position slowly. And now we're going to take 4 deep breaths. And each time you inhale, I want you to visualize the oxygen going to that quad. And each time you exhale, I want you to try and sink a little bit deeper into that stretch. All right, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. Slowly get yourself back up. Not very graceful, but here we are. Don't move this leg under its own power. One hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle. Lift with those hands and sort of unfold it in front of you that way. Just keeps the knee a little bit safer as you're unfolding the leg. Shake those knees out a little bit, just bounce them up and down. And our ankle got a little crunched in that position, so let's just help stretch it out. So flex both feet and point and flex and point and circle the ankles first in one direction and then the other direction. And now let's go to the other side. All right, so all the same form notes and positioning notes apply. All the same notes about getting into the stretch. Okay, so be honest with yourself. If you're here and you're like, oh my God, this sensation is so intense, don't keep going, because that's the other thing. If you try to push yourself into a degree of stretch that your body isn't ready for, that again is going to trigger the brain to activate the muscle. This time because it's like, well, I need to get out of this position. Like, this doesn't feel right. So again, learning to listen to our bodies, learning to pay attention to where they are, honor that, challenge it, but challenge it safely, okay? But here we are. We're in position on the second side. Oh, and we're just going to do those 4 deep breaths again, my friends. So again, every time you inhale, visualizing the breath going to wherever you are having the most intense sensation. Every time you exhale, trying to sink a little bit deeper into that stretch. All right, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. Carefully back up. Hands to the knee and ankle. Unfold that leg in front of you. Bring the other leg out to meet it. Just bounce those knees up and down. Then flex the feet and point and flex and point. Circle first in one direction and then the other direction. Oh, all right, my friends. I would say that's it. What a great class. What a great class. Well, yeah, I mean, that sticker was on all Blockbuster DVDs. I mean, that's where it comes from. Like, that was their thing. They somehow tied rewinding the VHS tape to Be Kind. Oh, although I think you might be laughing because it was in a DVD case, and that is totally irrelevant. I got it. See, there we go. I'm there. I'm there. I'm on board. I got the joke. Everyone, it's okay. I got the joke. Oh, God. Yeah, I think it's time to end class. Oh, thank you so much for joining me, though, my friends. Wonderful class. Wonderful class, as always. So, as an end-of-class reminder, next week, unless you see differently on social media, I will be turning the stream on at the usual time, but I will be running a VOD from a previous week, okay? So class will still happen. It'll just be pre-recorded. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of that so nobody shows up and goes, huh, this is weird. She seems to be talking about things from like months ago. That's why. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. You know how much I love these classes. And I honestly, I think the thing I'm most excited for in this rest week is like really putting together a plan of attack for all of the other things that I want to be doing with this channel, with this stream, and with the YouTube. And there's just so much. There's so much to do. And I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited to share all of this with you. Of course, it's a Lure thing. Why am I not surprised? Well, now that you say that, I can hear the song in my head. All right, my loves, you can, no, not time for that part of the spiel yet. It's time for the what are the remaining classes this week part of the spiel. 3 more classes tomorrow, Wednesday, at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, all times Mountain Time, is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Then Friday at 6 p.m. is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around your house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is Weekend Kickoff, which is a great strength and stamina focused bodyweight class that I really love. I think, honestly, I think that class may be my favorite class of the week, although I also love Jump Around as well. Look, I love all of this. But yeah, so that's the remainder of the broadcast schedule this week. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards. The YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from the stream. And as I've said a couple of times, there's going to be a lot of supplemental material going up on there as well. Form videos and stretching sequences and warm-up sequences and all that good stuff. So head over there and subscribe if that's your jam. If you would like to help support me monetarily, doing these streams and doing this work, I do have a Coffee account. Please do not feel obligated if you are not in a financial position to do so, but every donation helps me make more streams, make more awesome content, and is always very much appreciated. And if you want to help me keep growing this community, get us slowly and steadily towards affiliate status, then please do follow this channel, follow this Twitch channel. We're rounding the home stretch in followers, which is really exciting. I can't wait to see what the next, I've been doing this for 6 months now, which is blowing my mind, and I can't wait to see what the next 6 months brings. So thank you all so much for being here, and I will see some of you back here tomorrow night. Mwah! Have a great night.